to Adulting University, where we take adult shit and cut into kid-sized pieces. My name is Miss A, and today we'll be talking about renting. Now, this won't be an in-depth review of renting. No. This will simply be tips to help you before, during, and possibly after your rental experience. Because let's face it, unless you're a Kardashian, have money like a Kardashian, inherit a house, or win the lottery, you, my friend, will be renting sometime during your lifetime. With that being said, let's get started, shall we? Tip number 1. Have your paperwork with you. Looking for a place to live is a lot like applying for a job. There's only one spot and many applicants. Why not stand out above the rest by making sure you have all you need to fill out the application on the spot? What I mean is, you should have the following: your driver's license, social security card, a copy of your credit report, and pay stubs, along with reference letters from the following: landlords or landlord if you've had one, employer, and colleagues. Now this may seem like a lot, but there are places that may go just a little further in asking for more information. They may ask for vehicle registration and proof of insurance. Typically, with those applications, your rental includes a parking spot. So make sure you have your paperwork with you, and you'll have one foot in the door and be one step closer to your dream rental. Tip number 2, write all your questions down. Now this tip may seem more useful to first-time renters as opposed to seasoned renters, but in any case can be very helpful. See, most of us think about renting, at least in our early stages of searching, as cost, location, and duration of lease, often forgetting to ask vital questions that will later on sometimes prove to be deal breakers when it comes time to make a decision, such as, does my rental include a parking spot? And if not, what are the alternatives? And what's your pet policy? Etc., etc. So make sure you write down all your questions. Better yet, put them in your smartphone and they'll always be with you and ready to go. Tip number 3, use your smartphone as a second pair of eyes. Thanks to the internet, we no longer have to leave the comfort of our couch to view a place that we're interested in. But it is the internet, and seeing is believing. So when you go to your tours and open houses, break out your smartphones and document all that you see and hear so that you can accurately remember what you do and what you don't like about a place. This tip is also helpful for anyone doing a walkthrough with their landlords before they move in, and also when they're moving out of their rental spot. Tip number 4, know thy neighbor. Now for some, this tip won't mean dilly squat because basically you're never home and you frankly don't care. But for most of us, this will be very important because we know that a house is not a home unless you're comfortable on the inside and the outside. So ask who lives around you so you can understand your rental environment. Because you don't want to be stuck tiptoeing at 10 o'clock at night because the downstairs elderly couple has gone to bed, looking like you're robbing your own place. And you don't want to be sharing a wall with a colic baby or college kids that are partying to 3 o'clock, leaving it hard for you to adult your way through your work week. So, make sure you ask who you live next to. Tip number 5, know your rental status. Are you a renter or a subletter? Now these words may feel the same and may appear to have the same rights. But like a Diet Coke standing next to the original, a subletter is not a renter, at least in most landlords' eyes. So it's important that you know if you're a renter or a subletter, because you don't want to be illegally renting one day and legally evicted the next. Tip number 6, read your lease. It's exciting to find a place you want to rent, and you may be tempted to sign your lease without reading it due to peer pressure, lack of time, or just sheer excitement. But don't. See, your lease is a legally binding agreement between you and your landlord, and it clearly states what is expected of both parties. So by signing it, you're basically acknowledging that you've read and thoroughly understood everything that's in that document. So you can't claim ignorance, and you frankly don't want to look like this guy should things fall apart sometime during a rental. So make sure you read and know your rights. Tip number 7, get a copy of your lease upon signing it. Now, in a perfect world, everyone would keep their word and everyone would have a shred of integrity. But we know we live in reality, and that's not always the case. Make sure that upon signing your lease, you get a copy right then and there on the spot. If for some reason your landlord says, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I only have one copy, let me take this one with me and give you a copy via email," well, then you tell them, "Thank you, but give me 1 second." And bust out your iPhone, your Android, whatever you have, and make sure that you take a picture of every page. And that way, if whatever they send you doesn't add up to what you have in documentation of a picture, you can prove that something went wrong on their side. Tip number 8, have a written agreement with everyone you live with. For the same reasons you want a written agreement between you and your landlord, so too should you want a written agreement with everyone you live with. That includes you lovebirds. Simply write down what's expected of everyone and have everyone sign it. If this changes down the line, make sure it's updated and that everyone has a hard and or a soft copy. Better yet, soft copies are even better because they can't deny that they received an email. They might not have read it, but they received it. So make sure that you have a written agreement, and that way you can avoid misunderstandings. Tip number 9, get a receipt for everything. For reasons I already explained in this video, we know that documentation means a lot. So every time you make a payment, be it to your landlord or your best friend of 9 years that you now live with, you need to make sure you get some kind of acknowledgement in one hand before payment leaves the other. Last but not least, this brings us to tip number 10. Security deposits cannot be used as default for rent. Typically, when someone moves into a place, they'll pay their landlord a security deposit with first month's rent or a security deposit with first and last month's rent. But if sometime during your rental you find you're unable to pay your rent due to circumstances like your roommate moving out or you losing a job or just life happening, well, I hate to be the one to tell you, but your security deposit isn't going to help. See, that money is to be used by your landlord to bring your rental space up to par so that they can rent it out again once you move out. So they most likely won't be inclined to have you use that as a default for rent. In that situation, it's best to face it head on by letting them know exactly what to expect and seeing if you can work something out with them. Well, that's all for today, and I thank you very much for attending class. Go ahead and do your homework by subscribing to this channel and thumbs up in this video. My name is Miss A, and until next time, remember, you must be this tall to pay bills.